If you asked me why I want to travel, I always say that it's because I want to see what people live like. I want to understand them, their way of living, the way they view things, and how they see their place in the world. In absolute juxtaposition to the things I'm familiar with, Indigenous villages stay their whole lives in the exact same place and never leave. In this video, I'm lucky enough to go hiking in the mountains with a local guide and meet some of the Hmong and Dzao people. I get to experience some different aspects of Vietnam and its culture, exploring the less travelled places, and I'm going to bring you along with me, so I hope you enjoy. So last night we took the night train from Hanoi through to the town near Sapa, but it's still about another 45 minutes by car, taxi, etc. to get to Sapa. The train took about 8 hours and I think I got a reasonable sleep, but it just kind of reminded me of being on a sailboat, so that was probably why I was fine. I don't think everyone else agrees with me. So today we're going hiking. We're going to go visit some local villages in the mountains. I think I might mispronounce this, the Hmong people, and so we're going to go for a nice big walk, and the weather's not the best at the moment, but... On our first day, we were met by our lovely local guide Dzao, who took us through the main streets of Sapa before leading us up an alleyway towards the mountains where we would be hiking. We ended up being held up a bit by some buffalo, as it turns out that the farmers use these regular old roads to move the buffalo up and down the mountains. Our main challenge this day was going to be the fair amount of hill climbing we had to do, as we would be ascending to near Vietnam's highest peak, Mount Phaspian. Many of Vietnam's indigenous tribes still live in the mountains, so we were taking the route less travelled to reach them, seeing the sights along the way. However, for the first hour or two we didn't actually see much, as unfortunately it was really foggy and the weather was continually changing. Luckily, as we reached the high point of our walk, it started to clear a little bit and we were treated to glimpses of the magnificent mountains around Sapa. From here, we made our way along the ridgeline and back down towards one of the local villages of the Hmong people. If you've been on my channel before, you'll know that I've done a lot of hiking in New Zealand and also in Europe, and I'm usually pretty good at finding my way around as I have a really good sense of direction. However, up here, I feel like I would have instantly lost my bearings. So, if you're planning on going hiking around this area, I would definitely recommend going with a guide rather than trying to do it yourself. We stopped for some lunch at one of the local villages, and oh my goodness, this has to be some of the best food I had in my entire time in Vietnam. Everything was so fresh and incredibly flavourful, as I had found that some of the dishes in Vietnam can be a little bit on the bland side, or at least a little bit repetitive after a while. The mango smoothie was one of the best things I have ever eaten in my entire life. I would definitely recommend coming here even if you take the short route to get there rather than hiking through the mountains. Something I find really interesting is how many animals there are just around. You're always stumbling across puppies or little chicks, and the bout of cuteness always makes my day. We made our way back down towards Sapa via a different route, crossing rice terraces, passing by little homes, and observing the different architectural styles. In the evening, we walked around Sapa for a bit before getting an early sleep as we had another big day of walking to do. On our second day, we were heading into a more remote area that was going to take around an hour by car to drive through to. We were going to be meeting more of the local people as we were visiting both a Hmong Village and a Dzao one. At the first village, one of the locals was kind enough to invite us into his home, and it was interesting to see the open plan architecture and the way they lived. We asked our tour guide to ask some of the local people questions as we wanted to learn a bit more about their way of living, and she shared with us that a lot of people who live there have actually never left the village. Even though nowadays the younger generation tends to leave to go to the cities or other places for university or work, they end up eventually coming back to their home village anyway, to raise their families or to grow old. I find this a little bit unusual, but it does make a bit more sense when I look at how important community and family is in Vietnam. It is still a little bit hard to wrap your head around though that people will leave and then go back, as I don't feel like that's a very common theme I've seen in a lot of other places around the world. However, there is something really nice about going to a place that feels like it's been untouched by the modern world and is reasonably similar to what it would have been 50 or 100 years ago, as obviously the rate of change in the world is incredible and quite hard to deal with. We got back a little bit earlier in the afternoon and we explored Sapa again, finding some more murals and looking at the architecture before heading back to the train station to take the overnight train to Hanoi. This train takes around 8 hours and unfortunately I didn't get the best sleep on it. Right now we are on the night train from Sapa to Hanoi, and it's pretty basic accommodation, but like it's still alright. It's about 8 hours through to Hanoi, so gonna read for a bit, go to sleep, and then wake up in a new city. Sick. So they give you free chips and water, which I like, although the coffee is not free, don't get scammed into. So there's the top bunks, which is what I am on, because I have been reading this beautiful book by Murakami that I like. And yeah. I hope you'll tune in for next week's video where I'll be heading back into the mountains, this time in Ninbin National Park. I hope you'll tune in and thank you for watching.